going on, Kid Zone coordinators? Just a quick update on a few things. First, let me start with some practical stuff related to next weekend when we have Candy Town. Not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. It's going to be a very unique service, and we're looking to do a lot of different special things. Mostly everything is going to be large group and programmed for the kids to be looking at the stage. No small group time like we typically have. So a couple things that are going to be updated is we're going to have a steady tech crew that's going to be there for all three services. It's going to be Martha Lane and Olivia Avery, and they're going to spend all three services so they can get accustomed to what's happening for the service and keep things running very efficiently. We'll also be using a team of 12 teenagers that are going to be the primary presenters on stage with some of our characters. They're going to be our Toffee Toughs as well as like some superhero type characters. They're going to be there for all three services. And then also me, Sean, and Sarah will also be presenting from the stage. So just be aware of that. It's going to be very different, very unique. You as coordinators are not going to really need to focus on scheduling people for the stage stuff. That's something that Sarah and I are doing far in advance with the same people for all three services. What you would be doing is really kind of taking all the people that are a part of your team and spreading them out and making sure we have good coverage everywhere, and that the check-in process and check-out process is going smoothly, and that all the kids, as they're sitting and watching the presentation, are engaged and we have appropriate supervision everywhere. It's a very, very unique week, and I'm expecting to have up to 200 kids in each one of the services. So we want to just make sure that we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. You want to do your best to manage the team of people that you have that are there on a weekly basis and spread them out and make sure they know what their responsibility is and how we can appropriately do things. We'll also be inviting parents to come in for that service, so we'll have a full parent seating section set up. So for those of you that have been involved with the children's ministry for a while, you kind of know how this process works. We'll also bring in some extra people. We're hoping to have people like Melissa Bradfield and Keith Gallagher here for multiple services to help with some of the operation stuff because it's such an enormous weekend. So just be aware of that. That's something that we'll want to make sure we're all on the same page for that weekend. It's going to be a great time. Really looking forward to it. This is one of our best opportunities to get a lot of guests coming in. So let me also talk about just some of the regular leadership things that we need to be doing as a team for the people we're leading in Kid Zone. The first thing is we want to make sure that we're developing new talent. So new people that are coming in, new teenagers that are coming in, we want to make sure we have a very strategic plan to get them involved at the appropriate time and have a way to get them to grow in their skills and their strengths. So let me just pause and talk about a dynamic that has come up several times over the last few weeks. We want to be very careful before we put somebody on stage or we give them a small group leader position. We want to make sure that they're ready and that they have the spiritual maturity to do that. So we're bringing in a lot of new people. Some of them are even high school students that are old enough to do those things, or they may even have the skills to be on stage. But we always want to make sure that they are living the life that we want our kids to model before we give them either one of those two things, a microphone on stage or the position of a small group leader. So just be diligent about doing that. We want to get as many young people involved as possible, release them into ministry, but we also want to be cautious to make sure that we are setting them up for success and that they're ready for the responsibility. I take any type of spiritual authority or spiritual responsibility very seriously, especially with our kids that are so easy to influence. So we want to make sure that the people we're putting in front of them as leaders and examples are ready to set that example. So just be aware of that. Always have your eyes out for the next person that you're developing. I know that there's several people that we're bringing on now that could be new small group leaders or new stage presenters, but just be aware of that dynamic. Last thing I want to encourage you to do is over the next few weeks, do your best to catch everyone on your team doing something right and tell them about it. There's something incredibly powerful about finding something that they're doing that is just exceeding expectations and pointing that out to them. That can be with their stage presentation. I like to go up to people after worship and say, hey, come on over here, let me talk to you, and A lot of times they're nervous, like, oh man, what did I do wrong? But just going up to them and saying, hey man, here's what you did extremely well. You engaged the attention of the kids. You said these certain things that really got the kids pumped up and excited. And I haven't seen the kids that pumped up during worship for a long time. So great job. Thank you so much for doing that. Those kind of words, they last for a long time. Those are words that our young people don't forget. You can do the same thing in small groups where if you see somebody that's just going out of their way to engage the kids. So this past week there was one of our boys small group leaders that had like 13 young boys, and they were just sitting there staring at him, hanging on his every word. When you see things like that, go up to him afterwards and say, "Hey man, here's what I saw. You sat down with 13 young boys, 6-year-old boys, and they were paying attention to every word that you said. You're doing a great job in your group. That's not typical to be able to hold their attention like that. So that speaks a lot about who you are as a leader and what you're able to do. So keep doing that. I appreciate everything you're doing. Those kind of words make an enormous difference with our young people. So go out of your way to catch people doing something right, point out specific things that they're doing, and encourage them. So looking forward to seeing you all this weekend. This weekend is going to be a pretty typical weekend. So we will kind of have some normalcy, and then the following week with Candytown, it's going to be wild and crazy, but a whole lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. Appreciate you guys. See you guys all soon.